Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Lunch. This is a place to share positive and useful local information, find out about our lovely community in a bit more depth, and keep us all entertained and connected during this time. So I'm really delighted to introduce my guest today, who is Tania Mathurin, an actress and singer who some of you may recognise from the West End night concerts at the Upper Norwood Library Hub. Tania, it's lovely to have you. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell us a bit about you and your background.
Thanks for having me. So I am actually originally from Dorset, which is where I grew up, and I kind of danced, sang, did a bit of acting, and then I trained in London at 16 at Arts Educational in Chiswick, and kind of started working from there, and kind of been doing musical theatre, a bit of TV for about 25 years now.
Yeah, do the maths.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my background.
You've got a really interesting variety of things on your CV, I think. Do you enjoy the variety that you've got?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, doing this as a career has been partly because I just like doing different things, and I kind of definitely at one point realized I had to make more of a concerted effort to kind of go out a little bit more, go out of London, try and do some rec theatre, get a few more things during the year on my CV, because I kind of did the first 5 years of sitting in long running shows and doing year contracts, which was great, but yeah, I think variety is the spice of life. So yeah, I think that's definitely something I like to mix it up a little bit if I can.
I guess doing year-long contracts kind of in a big show is really good training, is it? But perhaps, I don't know, do you start to miss as you said, the variety, and kind of, I don't know, do you end up fighting the desire to make changes?
Yeah, I think it's great training. I think especially for if you're young and you're graduating, or even if you're not young but you're new into the business, it's a nice steep learning curve, I think, to go into a bigger show. Especially when I started, used to have real age range of people as well. So you've got people who've been in the business for 40 years, people your age. I was usually the youngest in the cast, and I think it gives you time as well to learn and settle a bit. But I think there is also that creative aspect of doing 8 shows a week for a year, maybe 2 years. I've done 2 years in some contracts, which is great. Yeah, it's great on one hand, but it's also can turn it slightly into a bit of a job.
For me, it feels like I would struggle for it not to become really mechanical after a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you find ways of just keeping it fresh?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of my first West End jobs was a new show, and the director came from kind of straight theatre, and the way we rehearsed and the way the show was directed was for me completely new. But one of the biggest things that he kind of instilled in us as a group of people, as an ensemble, was that every time we walked on stage, we knew who we were, and it's like a new performance each performance. And if everyone's on that same page, the show is a completely different experience each time. And I think that's been something I've taken with me in my career, and it's a good way also of just letting go of the day, whatever has happened in that day, you walk on stage and not take that with you. So I think that, and I think that in itself, people that stay in shows I do have friends who work on Broadway who've been in shows for like 10 years. There's a whole different way they work there. But I think that's a talent and I don't know what the word is, but it's a skill in itself to do a show. and keep it fresh for
Yeah.
long periods of time. I think that's a great skill to learn, actually.
Yeah. Amazing. And you've actually been on the original cast of quite a few shows, haven't you? And does that make a difference from the creative point of view?
Yes, definitely. I think my first job was an established show. I think we rehearsed for 2 weeks to learn the entire show, which
Wow.
now seems entirely crazy. But as it was, I just thought that's how it worked. And yeah, so that happened. And then my second job was an original show in the West End called Martin Gare.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we kind of rehearsed, I think, for 3 months. It's all kind of a blur because we kind of rehearsed for a year. So anyone that knows that show, it became quite well known that we opened, we went back into rehearsals, we were rehearsing the entire time after we opened. We closed the show for a week, we went back into full rehearsals.
Wow.
We reopened the show, we were reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a kind of ongoing process of them trying to get the show how they wanted the show to be. We kind of had like quite good reviews. They weren't awful. It wasn't a flop. It was just for me, it was a new experience to be on the West End, but also all of this was kind of, I think I was about 19. And I think it was the best that I was so naive in a way, because I didn't know any different, that this was not even normal for maybe a new show. But that was for me an amazing situation. And we improvised pretty much every single day for nearly 3 months.
Wow.
And coming from when you train, I think you do so much when you train. If you do a musical theatre course, you're singing, you're dancing, you're acting, but you're doing Shakespeare, you're doing improvisation. We did theatre of the absurd. You do all these kind of amazing things, and then sometimes you find you do a show and it's, as we talked before, you're learning something someone set 20 years ago. So you have to find your own character and my version of it within a very tight box. Whereas to go into work every day and be like, and improvise for like 8 hours was kind of crazy, but also like, oh yeah, this is kind of why we did what we did. But I've been in other new productions which weren't as free as that, maybe. But again, I used to dance when I was a bit younger, so even when it comes to choreography, I did Dr. Dolittle, and that was quite a collaborative work with the choreographer, of working with the people she had, and and that just makes you feel you're so connected to that production, because there's always a part of each person within a new show that they've maybe come up with, or collectively you came up with, and that's something really special, I think.
Yeah, amazing. And you were part of the first show that opened after the lockdown as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. I mean, that must have been fascinating.
Yes, it was. And it was, I think even now no one really knows what's happening from week to week. So we were just about to do our first preview the following Tuesday when we were going into lockdown. So we were in a tech rehearsal. They made the decision to stop because we physically couldn't have an audience watch the show. It's a weird thing because it was a short contract anyway. So this kind of ongoing, no one quite knew when the theatres would open. Our producers really wanted to get it open. So I think we had 5 months of nothing, and then they made the decision. And, coming from lockdown into this, like, we're going to put on a show. And I wasn't in London. I came home to be with my family. So it just seemed like, okay, like I haven't been on a train. I think there was some apprehension definitely on my side of, you know, how do we keep us all safe? But they were amazing. We got tested every single day, and that was every single person who was backstage. And it was at the Troubadour Theatre. So we had stage management, wigs and wardrobe, crew, sound, then all the performers, then the director during tech. We had the director, the choreographer, we had all the creative team there, the orchestra. And so we'd kind of come in blocks of hours. It took about an hour to get results back. So we would get tested and then have an hour to wait for the results. And we did that through rehearsals and then through every show. And I kind of got used to it, but just having that and knowing to be backstage, that everyone was fine. But then even backstage, we had to wear a mask. Everyone wore a mask during the show, except for the actors. So once we were in the wing, we could not have a mask, and then obviously be on stage. And then as soon as we came off, so there was like so many layers of health and safety, and you know, but just knowing every day, everyone backstage and that you would come across was fine. So I think that helped us relax. And the first day we went back to the rehearsal, well, we rehearsed on stage actually, but we got on stage and there was a bit of a speech from the producer, and I think everyone was just like, I can't believe we're sat on a stage, because I've kind of gone from that's it, theatres will never open again, you know, the drama of the kind of lockdown, and to be on stage was just really special. And I think taking from that was that we're really lucky to do what we do, and how much that's part of me as well. So that it was the first day back was actually very emotional. It was, you know, a lot. And I think we take for granted, you're busy and you work and you work and you work, and other things get in the way. And, you know, I think, but when you just come down to that aspect of being allowed to be on stage and play and perform, that's really
quite a few people. I've been very lucky to talk to quite a few actors and singers recently, and actually quite a few people have said that the forced pause has reminded them how much they love what they do, and actually it's been kind of weirdly positive from that point of view, in just being a reinvigoration of the love for doing it, I think. And it sounds like you've maybe had that a bit as well. Yes, definitely. I think I went through all the emotions during lockdown. But yeah, and I think in this business, if you're working, you are lucky. If you're busy, when you're not working, you're still really busy. You're usually running around doing 2 or 3 different jobs, also auditioning, also getting last minute things to learn, half a script to learn for next Thursday. And there's a constant, even in your rest time, and there's the stress then of trying to get a job, of when's your next job going to come around. So I think to have a complete shutdown for me, because I've been lucky and I have been very busy recently, but I think just to take stock and to take a moment and remember how I've got where I sound quite, but I was doing Come From Away for a year and had 2 weeks between that and starting rehearsals for Sleepless. So wow. I think in my own head I was a bit like, and we always do it, we get the job done. But yeah, I think it's been a weird time, but also I think across the board for all industries and all people, just really definitely focusing on what's important. And just following on from that then, recent comments about arts being inviolable and we should all retrain. Tell me your thoughts on that. Well, there's a thing going around that
with a ballet dancer, which apparently is an old post that's kind of resurfaced. So that's been the most recent thing I've seen on social media. And actually today was the first time I got directly kind of a sponsored post direct to one of my social media things.
So this is the one, I think I just saw this morning. There's a government thing about retraining, isn't there, which has got a picture of a ballet dancer and kind of saying her next job might be in cyber something, but she doesn't know it yet. But actually I saw the post that had come from a totally different, like two ballet dancers, really beautiful picture of two ballet dancers clearly getting ready to dance, and that it's been perhaps misappropriated. That is that the one you mean?
Yeah, so that one's been going around, but I think there's a little bit of a confusion whether that is from something they did a year ago when they were trying to do a cyber training push. But there's also something else going around just basically saying, have you thought of retraining? And like, and what's weird is I have thought of retraining. I have been doing this for a long time, and at the best of times, it's a precarious business. So, that's one of my biggest things over the last couple of years is what would I want to do? Or, as if I have another job, if I want to decide to focus mainly on a specific area of performing, then that maybe means I have a bit of time out. So, but it feels like everyone's given up on us in a way, because it's not, they could be offering this to performers for years and years and years, and it's almost like your job's not going to happen anymore, or your job isn't important. And it's, everyone in the world is important. Everyone who does anything is important, from cleaning something to serving you coffee. Everyone's job is important. I think the arts, it's hard to quantify. They can with money. We're £1 billion business, but also I was thinking about how to kind of explain, I think, why we're important and what the messaging at the moment is so upsetting. One, we train for a long time. I trained at college from 16, but I started dancing at 8. I was driven around. Luckily enough, I had really supportive parents. I don't come from a performing family, but I was driven to dancing, to drama. I wanted to sing, and that's my parents' money again. That's there's been an investment in me doing this from a very young age. We're told no from a very young age if you decide this is what you're going to do, because it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So the messaging at the moment I've been having actually most of my life, because it's like, well, what if that doesn't work? Oh, it's very competitive. What else would you do? And you kind of think, well, I'm going to do this, and then if I want to do something else, that's what I'll do. And I think you have to sometimes be focused on not always having the second option, because this is going to be my option.
But also, actually, as you said earlier, you have other jobs when you need them. We're already doing that, and I'm the same. You focus on the main thing you want to do, but when you can't make the rent with that for whatever reason, you do something else. And we're like constantly retraining. And I think as an actor, particularly so, because if you need a skill for a particular show and you don't have it yet, you learn to do it. And I think often you guys, if you have a patch that's a bit quieter, you're looking for the next thing to learn, so that to add to your enormous CV. Already, it's like we're already retraining all the time and kind of filling gaps with transferable skills all the time. So
I think as well, just to be a musical theatre performer, I still have singing lessons. I still have to pay someone to go through rep with me. I pay for my spotlight. I pay to be part of equity. So I'm paying for this whether I'm working in a show or not. I was also in a very big West End musical not so long ago, and I usually temp as a receptionist. That's my kind of out of work. But because our basics not great, really, I was still working in the day. I'll temp in the day, and quite a lot of people do that, and we'll temp in the day and we'll go and do the show at night just so we can afford. I would use it to like save money to go on holiday, because the cost of living in London has shot up, but actually over the 20 years I've worked, the basic wage hasn't. So
wow,
you know, it's something again. So this kind of thing of retrain, do this, and like I don't think you understand that we don't just do that. People teach a lot. People are busy in the day. I'm still 25 years later, still investing in myself and my career, and people go and do class. And as you said, people go and learn a new skill, and people pick something up they maybe did as a child because they think, well, that might help me get work. So,
and in the process of that, we're spreading money round the other bits of the economy as well.
So I think the understanding of, I think when people come and watch a show, you see the people on stage and like, that's nice, lovely, jubbly, and I think the understanding from maybe the government that we're just these people that kind of, it's our hobby, or you know, we are people. Musicians practice like 7 hours a day. I mean, it's unbelievable, and these are world-class musicians, and they still practice. There's not very many jobs that once you're in the job, you learn the job, you don't go home and then practice something. This is like, our time is almost unquantifiable, because our hours of work at the time I go to the theatre, but actually my job is a constant. It's always there, it's always learning, it's always doing something. And I think what I remembered was that in shows we do a lot of charity collections for sometimes World AIDS Day and various theatre charities, and different shows. It's usually the bigger shows do the same kind of charities, and sometimes when you're in the show you volunteer and you can go and collect the money out front in costume. And I think when you do that, it's really weird, but I think the reaction from the audience, just people leaving and kind of saying, oh my god, the show was amazing, and it's either they're telling you about the show or thanking you for your performance. And it sounds kind of egotistical, but especially being in a long running show, there is a distance, there is a disconnect to the audience. They clap, but people clap at everything these days. But you know, to be in certain shows, I've had people standing telling me a story about what happened to their sister in 9/11 whilst I'm collecting money at the end of Come From Away. But it's that thing of, you shared something with them, and there's very little that we do as people, that you're within a group of people and you share this one thing for 2 hours that brings out emotions of either escapism, happiness, sadness, you know, and you can't get that from TV and film. I love TV and film, but it's a different. So this thing of people fighting to keep theatre alive and make sure we don't go into rack and ruin by the time COVID is gone, it's so deeply ingrained, I think. And you know, I feel obviously very passionate about it, but yeah, I just think I had to remember that, to go, you know, it's what these people that come to see a show, what they get from it, which I get when I see something, but it's a little bit different for me, I suppose. But yeah, I just don't know, there's nothing else that where that happens.
And I think people have been so grateful generally for, obviously we haven't had very much live theatre, but just all of the stuff that's been live streamed, and books, music, films, you know, everything that's been available to keep us entertained in the last few months. And just without the arts, we would have none of it.
It is. I know you forget, and it's amazing when we did the last the West End concert, you know, just the comments from people, because it was live streamed through this, and just, you know, I forget that people miss theatre and miss going and seeing live things and concerts, and you know, we've done the best we can. And I think it's amazing, like the National Theatre, I watched quite a few of those things with my mom, and that was lovely because a lot of those things I actually missed. So, you know, when they actually happen live. But yeah, we need it. We definitely.
So just kind of going slightly backwards from that, or thinking about lockdown a little bit more. What you said, you had kind of 5 months of not really, just kind of going home, being with your family, which sounds like a lovely thing, and actually time to just press pause and reset. But what else have you been doing? And you mentioned
well, I'd love to say
as well. So
yes, I'd love to say I've written a play and wrote a film, but I didn't do any of that. I don't know what I did. I kind of just got my brain in gear, I think. And because I live in London, because I traveled a lot, I actually don't spend a lot of time with my family. So that was actually really lovely. I have a special needs sister who was shielding as well. So there was a lot of stuff that we had to do. But that was what I got out of it, was a special time. But a lot of my friends who are creative, I've got wardrobe mistresses that make masks, which have been amazing, and they make them and post them to you, and that's been fantastic. I've got a friend who he works in wardrobe on Wicked, and he's been a photographer for a long time. And this photo behind me, so I'm actually at my mum's house, so she bought this and I bought a couple of his prints. And I think he basically was in central London during lockdown, and there was no one on the street. He's got all these amazing photos of all the West End theatres. He's kind of done them in black and white, and the shows, I don't know how well you can see it, but the shows, the posters at the front are in colour. And I just thought they were beautiful, and I just thought, wow, this is a historic moment where you can stand in the middle of the West End and not see a car or see a person in front of the building.
Yeah, I mean, from here it looks like there's literally one car and that's it.
Yeah, there's literally one car, and this is Shaftesbury Avenue. There's just not one person. So so he's called Troy David Johnson, and he I think he just took the pictures and put them on Facebook, and I think everyone was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. So then he kind of started offering them out as prints, and that's probably been great for him. It's a little side business, and I think people have been amazing with. I've got friends who've started like fitness classes that were doing them for free on Instagram, and you know, I think there's definitely tenacity,
versatility, and transferable skills. They're all being used. Yeah,
we're all viable. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're sort of nearly out of time, so just moving on from that to the next thing that I know you're doing that I'm really excited about, which is the Halloween concert at the Library Hub. Can you just tell us about that quickly?
Yes, so it's for Daniel Stockton is producing it again, and we've got, I think there's 8 of us West End performers, and we're just doing a Halloween spectacular. So I think we've got songs from Big Fish, The Witch, Little Shop of Horrors. I think it's going to be a really good night. The kind of song list, I don't want to give it all away, but yeah, there's lots of trios and duos, and awesome. The last one was great. You know, there's so much talent around. And it's been lovely because it's given me something to focus on kind of as I finished as well. So that's been really nice. But yeah.
And it's there's sort of costume and lighting and a green screen effect.
Yes, we're doing the green screen. So they did the Disney thing, I think. I didn't take part in that one, but I watched a bit of it. So yeah, I forgot about that. I'm quite excited. So we're doing a full green screen, spooky, spectacular. Who knows? Yeah,
and it's family friendly, isn't it? And
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's on Halloween.
I think it's 6 o'clock, isn't it? And live streamed through the Upper Norwood Library Hub Facebook page.
On Facebook, so check it out.
Excellent. Well, really excited to see that. Looking forward to it.
It'll be good fun.
Yeah, I think so. Brilliant. Well, it's been really, really lovely to chat to you. I'm going to have to stop and move on to my notices very quickly to finish off with. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you on Halloween. if not before.
See you then. Thanks so much.
So just before we finish, a few notices to let you guys all know about. So the first thing is that we are, as ever, still looking for people to take part in All Alone Together, which is our Arts Council funded project looking at the effect of the pandemic on the local community, particularly artists, but everyone. There's a really short survey on our website, just 4 questions asking about kind of how it's impacted you. The more people that get involved, the better our research, and the better we can kind of look for ways to help going forward. There's also a box to tick if you're up for being interviewed and be part of our podcast, which is going to be available shortly. And if you're up for that, I would love to interview you. Short sections of the interview will be edited into a podcast so that we can hear everybody's experiences from the local area, sort of in their own words, in their own voices, and there is a sort of ongoing oral history project that I think, apart from anything else, will be really interesting to be able to listen back to in a little while. So it'd be lovely, please, to have more people involved in that. Then we have where are we? Halloween boot camp. So this is for children to have the opportunity to discover new skills and techniques, learn about music and drama, and spend the autumn holidays having fun, creating and exploring this magical time of the year. There are 6 places left. This is Monday the 19th of October to Thursday the 22nd of October, and I think it's pretty much full days. So do check that out if you have kids on half term at that point. It will be fabulous, and there's only 6 places left, so grab them quick before they go. What else? We have the Big Energy Saving Network, which is worth having a look at if you have any questions about energy, if you think you're paying too much, if you want advice about what company you might switch to, whether you can get a better deal, if there is better boilers out there for you, anything along those lines. Do check this out, and it's free and it's impartial, so really worth checking that out. Then what else? We have English classes through the Library Hub, which it's a series of tutor-led classes aimed at improving learners' confidence in speaking English. It started at the end of September, and there are 2 weekly online classes for beginners and for those at intermediate or improver level, and that's Tuesdays and Wednesdays. There's a one-off fee of £30 for the whole year, and you can attend weekly classes until next July with breaks Christmas and Easter. Now that sounds like a fabulous deal to me, so please pass that on to anybody who's wanting to improve their English. And then finally, we have a call out for creatives from Croydon Live. They're commissioning 3 family-friendly theatre pieces from Croydon-based companies, and commissioning 3 brand new written pieces of family-friendly theatre. It's a paid opportunity for those living in the borough of Croydon. And if you want to be considered for a commission, please get an email to the producers, JLA Productions, as soon as you can. I think that's it from me for today. We'll be back tomorrow at midday with Jackie Campbell. I hope to see you then. In the meantime, Tania, it's been fab to talk to you. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you on Halloween, if not before.
Great. Thanks. See you then.
Brilliant. Take care, everybody. See you soon. Bye for now.